Hi, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to make an omelet, basically teaching you how to impress yourself, your family, and your loved ones by making the fanciest breakfast that there is. Normally with an omelet, I would start off with just some leftover stuff I had from a previous meal, onions and peppers and steak or sausage or something like that. But today we're going to be picking some stuff out of the garden, and we're going to be smoking some bacon. So this is just a tutorial to show you how to put together, how to keep from burning your eggs, how to get the flip right, how to gauge how much stuff to put in it and so forth. So sit right back and I will show you how to make an omelet. First thing you do is grab all your stuff. Got some pepper and some garlic. You can use that a couple of times. Very important, make sure you have some eggs. I'm going to use 4 eggs today. The more eggs you use, the thicker your base will be and the more stuff you can put in it. Also, it's going to be easier to flip where your stuff won't fall out. I also have what I call cheapy cheese. This is just your Kraft singles, also known possibly as plastic cheese. I got a pepper, a jalapeno, and tomato, and onion. This is some basil and some oregano that I cut out of the garden and just a few minutes ago. So that's all ready to go. So anyways, your first step would be just cutting your stuff up and getting it ready to go. Hopefully by the time I have that set up, I should have my bacon ready to go. This is how you cut the onion. If you've never done this before, cut this end off. When you cut it straight down, a bit of this and then help peel it for you. Cut this guy, roll it again, does the same thing. You take your onion bits apart. Nice. And you want to cut this guy kind of thin, since you're not going to be cooking these on their own and then sticking them in. You don't want them to be too potent, so make them thin enough they will cook when you put them inside your omelet. So I'm just going to cut up about this much of it. So put it aside. I don't think you're going to want strips of onion for this, so you're going to want to cut this up kind of thin. You're not going to need this whole pepper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half like this. I'm going to leave the rest of it for another recipe. Pull out the seeds. So. Then we're going to, let's just cut it into strips like this. So. Aside. Jalapeno pepper. Obviously, you're not going to want all of this. Now, your jalapeno is going to be mildest towards the tip here. It's going to be the hottest towards the top, and that's because that's where the seeds are at. I like my jalapenos hot, so I'm going to cut it in the middle and get my slices from there. Make these real as thin as you can get them. And again, these are not going to be cooked ahead of time. They're going to be cooked inside the omelet. So they are going to be kind of in their very hot, raw sort of stage when you actually get around to eating it. So just cut what you think is appropriate for what you're going to do. Take and discard the rest. This is oregano. I happen to have this laying around. It's kind of hoity-toity, talking about going out to the garden and picking this stuff up. But if you have the availability, sure. If not, you can get any of this stuff, obviously, down at the brick and mortar garden called a store down the street, and they would be happy to sell you this stuff. Once again, keep in mind that this is just what I happen to be choosing to put inside my omelet. You can put anything else that you like. Again, I was talking about putting your leftovers in there. A chunk of ham, piece of German sausage, whatever cheese you might have laying around, or no cheese, depending on what you want to do. This tomato, I don't really prefer cooked tomatoes on an omelet. So what I'm going to actually do with this guy is I'm going to get it prepared to be a topper. So I'm basically just going to throw these on top of the omelet after it's done. I'm going to cut these nice and thick. I'm just going to make some slices out of these. So, what the heck, let's put a little garlic on those. The ones that don't end up on top of the omelet are just going to end up on the side of it as a garnish. It's going to look real nice. Okay, the next thing we need to do is crack the eggs and get those set up. I have my 4 eggs here. You may not want to use 4 eggs. It's going to make a pretty big omelet, but it's going to look good on camera, so we're going to make 4. You notice that I cracked the egg on a flat surface and not on the rim of the bowl. That's one of those misconception sort of things that you come across over time. You realize that the egg actually opens better if you crack it on the counter. Now that you got your eggs cracked, you break those yolks and you're going to get them all whipped up and ready to go. Now, as you're whipping, you're going to see that you're combining the whites and the yellows together. You want to make sure you get that whipped real good, because if you don't, when you go to make your omelet, which is just one big fried piece of egg, you're going to have the whites separated from the yellow parts, and you're going to have a marbling going on in your omelet, which you don't want. You want marbling in your steaks, not in your eggs. So anyway, spend a few minutes on this. Well, not minutes, but spend some time on this. Make sure that you spend some time getting it whipped up real good. When I'm whipping these, I like to go this sort of motion, and I'm using the tines of the fork to press down into the bowl like this, which is kind of mushing up the whites a little bit. It's helping to blend the yolks in there. So, okay, so then when you're pulling it, you shouldn't be seeing a whole lot of separation. It should all be one nice yellow egg liquidy thing. All right, the next thing you're gonna do is you're going to get your pan ready to go. And while we are waiting for the pan to heat up, I'm going to go get the bacon. All right, here we go. First of all, we have cookie spray. You can use butter, you can use oil, you can use anything you want. And you pour in your egg. Now the trick of this is making sure that this pan is not too hot when you put this in here. Your scrambled egg here will cook, but you want it to cook a little bit on the slow side so you have time to insert all of your ingredients. Granulated garlic. This is from the Costco's. Fresh pepper. As it starts to cook, you're going to see that it's starting to bubble up like this. I like to pop the little bubbles that allows the uncooked egg to kind of reach the surface. Like so. Add the onions, peppers, put in the jalapenos, a little bit of the oregano, a little bit of the basil, and your cheese. Like so. Extra piece. This is for eating. Then you take the bacon, break it up a bit, cover it all up. You will notice that I'm putting everything on one side of it, and that's because it is going to get folded. And that'll help from throwing everything all out of the pan when you go to do that. So we have the bacon. Take a look at that. You'll notice there's still some uncooked egg at this side, but it's cooked on this side. Sometimes you need to move the pan around, try to make sure that that gets all cooked. You see when you start getting to where your good, you start getting where you can pick it up with a spatula. This is a particularly big and flexible spatula. I recommend getting one of these if you don't have one. But that is you can use this for a lot of stuff. Now this is where I was talking about the number of eggs you use. You see you've got a little bit of a thickness here that's holding all your stuff together. If you try to do this with 2 eggs, your egg is going to be very, very thin and you might have some issues. However, if you don't put as much stuff in, you can counteract that. The egg is starting to get cooked on this side and you're looking good. When you're ready, you slide this all the way into there. Try to get it in a little more than halfway, and then you just tilt it over like so.
And I kind of just roll it over with the spatula a little bit. Get this going like that. So, slide it towards the middle. Like this.
Now when you do this, everything on the inside is going to start getting cooked real well. It's much hotter on the inside once you flip this over, like so. And usually what I do is I let this sit for just at least a few minutes, let the uncooked egg finish cooking on the inside. When you start squeezing like this, you're going to start seeing some of the egg kind of pop out. You'll also see some of the cheese come out. That's a good indicator that you're hot on the inside, is when the cheese is bubbling out the sides. The next step too, so you're going to be one tone on one side, but you're going to be more cooked on this side because now we've been flipped over. So we're going to flip this guy over for just a little bit. You see how this is nice and cooked? You want that same deal there. Now once you have this over, you take your last piece of cheese, put your cheese on top, like so. Put your tomato slices on top, like so. Remaining basil. So, I like fresh onions, so just a little bit of the onion up there. A little bit of the peppers. Last little piece of that. And just because I happen to really like bacon, I'm going to throw a little bit of extra bacon on there like so. And there we go. Now it's ready for a plate. And there is your completed omelet. Take my last 2 pieces of tomato, put it in there. A couple of extra pieces of bacon for good measure. And that's it. You're ready to go. That's how you make an omelet. At least that's one way to make an omelet. Looked pretty good, you think? I guess that's it. So, bon appetit.